Yo! What's up, everybody? So, we got something a little fun, a little special, a little different today. We have a beautiful, wonderful PixelFX N64 Digital to install. This is a hardware 2 variant. These are pretty rare, from what I understand. Since the PixelFX Gym came out, that kind of eliminated the N64 Digital as an option. And I know a lot of people still really like the N64 Digital, prefer it over the Gym, because it has HDMI and it has analog output, which the Gym only has HDMI. So, this is pretty neat to be able to install one of these. I don't know if you can even get these anymore. I've seen them available on eBay at extremely exorbitant marked up prices. So I'm not even sure where this customer who sent this N64 in to me, I'm not sure where they got this from. But it's here. We're going to install it. It's going to be awesome. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So we're going to go ahead and start disassembling this N64 here. So with the N64, of course, as always, you have the classic game bit, 4.5mm game bit. Back when I first started modding, game bits were not very plentiful at the time, and I remember going back back in the early pre-2010 era, whenever N64 modding was happening. I remember there was this method where you would melt the end of a ballpoint pen and shove it down into the N64 into the screw hole and let it cool down until it makes like a plastic game bit out of the end of a ballpoint pen. Oh, it was awful. It was a terrible, terrible way to do things. Highly not recommended. But that's the first time I opened up an N64. That's how I did it, with a melted ballpoint pen. So we have come so far. You can get game bits on. You just go on Amazon, get a game bit in a few days. All right. So top cover's off. Next level is the Phillips screws inside of the N64. Alright, and then we've got some smaller screws that I'm going to use a Phillips number 1 to remove. Right here on the expansion card slot. And that's it. That's all the screws that we need to remove. Now, sometimes you'll see people remove these screws on the heatsink. That's not necessary. I know why people do it, because they're afraid of tearing the thermal pads, but the N64's thermal pads, I've pretty much never, as far as I can I can't remember a single time where I've torn N64 pads. It seems like that the heatsink is on there pretty well, but it does just pop right off. The best thing to do is to pull from the top, because if you pull from the top instead of pulling from the bottom, you don't risk pulling the RD RAM chips up. The RD RAM chips, most of the pins are on the top, but there's just a couple of pins on the back holding this chip down. If you pull the heatsink up from the bottom first, you can accidentally lift these pins on this side and cause the RD RAM chip to pop up. You're not gonna hurt any, you're not gonna kill it that way, but it is a pain to have to solder that back down. So that's a tip for you. Lift from the back. But there you go. That's an N64 motherboard right there. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, this is not a no-cut mod kit that was sent to me. This is... Let me double check the packaging, but I'm pretty sure this was not sent with a no-cut mod. So we're going to be doing the... I haven't actually had to cut an N64 HDMI slot in basically forever, because all the installs I've been doing for the past like couple of years, I've had no-cut mods sent to me. So give me just a second. I want to double check the customer's packaging just to make sure that there wasn't a no-cut mod hiding in there, but I'm pretty sure this is not sent with a no-cut mod, so we're going to be actually cutting an HDMI port here. But give me just a second. Yeah, there was no no-cut mod provided by the customer. So we are gonna go ahead and get to work on cutting this HDMI slot. You kind of need to do that first. Well, you could solder the flex cable first, but you're not gonna be able to install the N64 Digital until you cut this slot anywhere, because the N64 Digital doesn't fit down in place if it doesn't have the slot cut for it. So we'll just go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll move on to the soldering. So for this one, we're just going to grab an X-Acto knife, and we're just going to mark the outside edges of where the HDMI port should be filed. And then I'll get this is a kind of a somewhat coarse file here. I'll get this file and go ahead and start filing. Okay. That's definitely not done, but I want to do a little check here to see how close I am to being on point here. Okay. Okay. That's looking pretty good. It's just not deep enough. It's almost there. Almost there. Well, that looks nearly perfect right there. Let me double check the install guide and see exactly. Yeah, that looks pretty much bang on. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch over to my fine file, which produces a slightly better finish. And that's the HDMI slot right there. Okay. It came with a set of 3D printed spacers, which I think are supposed to snap apart like so. So this spacer goes here. Well, hold on. That doesn't make sense. Strange. The documentation shows a different spacer than this one. So I'm not really 100%. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the spacer has been revised a little bit, but it fits in that same spot still. It's just a little confusing. So that spacer goes there. I think that's all we need. And then this should just snap down in place. God, that's such a tight fit. But there you go. There's your N64 HDMI slot. Pretty good. All right, well, that's the physical modifications done. Let's go ahead and start doing some soldering. Okay, we'll start with doing the analog portion of the mod. So here is our analog flex cable, and we're going to be installing this back here on the multi-out. So it should go right here, starting at pin 1. And we'll go ahead and solder this in place. Okay, and then it says to bend and fold the cable over like so. Like that. All right, and then this is an early generation. This is a CPU 03 motherboard. So this is going to need some components removed over here for the C-Sync line. We need to remove C22 and C14 because this motherboard actually has sync signal being run to the sync pin, but we're going to be using the sync that's generated by the N64 Digital, so we don't want the N64's native sync signal coming through. So R14 and C22 are the components right here that we're going to remove. And we will employ the hot tweezers for this application. You could just use the regular soldering iron tip, but I'm going to use the hot tweezers because I have them, and why not? So we're going to take C22 and remove it. And I'm going to actually just place it sideways. Oh. There we go. So I placed it sideways on that pad. So it's still, oh, hold on. So it's still present. In case this mod ever needed to be reversed, it would be easier to reverse it since the component is still present. I'm going to do the same thing for R14. Just move it to the side. So it's still present, but it's no longer in circuit. And that's pretty much it for that part of it. So analog is done. Now we do the digital portion of this. So we have the digital flex cable, and that simply lines up like so. Let's see if I can get you zoomed in a little bit more there. So it lines up like so. You want the first pin of the flex cable to be on pin 6. Yeah, you want the first pin of the flex cable on pin 6 of the RCP NUS chip, the RCP chip. Pin 5 is the one with the little dot, little white dot there. So pin 6 would be the next one over. And what we're going to do, we're going to hit the area with a little bit of solder, or a little bit of flux first, and then I'm going to come in here with a blob of solder and tack this in place. And then we will drag solder it to finish. There we go. So it's tacked in place nicely. Hit it with a little bit more flux. And then we're going to go ahead and get it nice and bridged up real bad. And then we'll come in here and actually do the proper drag soldering, which will be easier for me to do from this angle. So we're going to do it from here. Oh, sorry about that. And the trick to drag soldering, I like to use a knife tip because it's got a lot of surface area. But the trick to drag soldering really is just you're moving that solder around. And it's really just surface tension, so you just got to use a lot of flux, move the solder around, and eventually the solder will just go where it needs to go and get out of the places it doesn't need to be. And you just want to clean your tip repeatedly as you're going, because that creates new surface area on the tip for the solder to flow into, so you can pull more solder up off of your work area. And that looks pretty clean right there. No bridges or anything. So I'm going to call that good. All right. Okay, just got to double check the instructions and see what I'm supposed to do here with this jumper. Well, the instructions don't say what to do with the jumper. Some of the images show the jumper closed, some of them show it open, and it doesn't actually say what the jumper does. That's not great. Let's see. Oh, okay. I'm looking at it now. The jumper is for the clock mod, apparently. There's some sort of clock control thing. I assume it's like a multi-region thing. That was not requested by the customer, so we're going to ignore it. All right, so the next thing we'll go ahead and knock out here is the PIF flex cable. Go ahead and get that installed. Alrighty. Let's see here. Looks like this lines up like so. You know, this seems a little fiddly to me. I don't know that I like this design very much. Alright, well, we'll give it a shot here. Seems kind of fiddly, if you ask me, but... Alright, we'll try to tack down these two pins first. Hit it with a little bit of flux. Okay, those two look pretty good. Oh, sorry about that focus thing. All right, so that side looks pretty good. We'll fold it over. See if we can tack these other pins down. Let's see, that's pin 14. All right, let's see what we can do here. I hope you guys could see this reasonably well. This is tricky. Let's get the tweezers out. Wow. Yeah, I don't care for this flex design very much at all. This is not very fun to install. It's the kind of design that, you know, probably seems good in theory, but you almost need 3 hands to be able to do it. Okay, that's done. Let's get this last one. Okay. Doesn't look too bad. All right, and then this little flex cable solders to the main digital flex cable. Let's see. Something like this. Wow. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, it's like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and tin these pads that we're going to need to be soldering to, and then we'll do the rest afterwards. Hey, there we go. Yeah, I'd almost prefer to just have wires run down to the PIF. It's pretty neat looking, but it's quite a pain to deal with. All right, so now we're gonna fold the flex cable over, like so. And then once we fold the flex cable over, let's see. Well, this isn't particularly well shown on the guide, but I think we're supposed to solder it to this pin right here on the 5-volt regulator. It says to solder to the 5-volt pin, but these pictures are... Oh, here we go. Nice. There we go. We got a zoomed in picture here. All right, so yeah, we're trying to solder this to this pin right here on the 5-volt regulator. There we go. Okay. So this should be folded over like this. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much on point for what they want you to have. Okay, well, let's go ahead and pop the cover back on. Hold on. Okay, they say to put some electrical tape on the top shield because you do have some solder points right here that could potentially short if you don't have electrical tape in place. So, we find a roll of electrical tape. So that's going to be like right across here. Right across here that we're going to need the electrical tape in place, so... Okay, that should align pretty much right on with the soldering we did. All right, we'll go ahead and pop the 2 screws that hold the shield on, so they all stay together as one unit. And then I'll go grab the bottom shell of the N64 and we'll give this a test. Now, with the N64 Digital, I think you have to abandon the shielding, but now I'm not so sure. I know with the no-cut mod you do, but actually, looks like you don't have to abandon the shielding here. It looks like the shielding clears. So the question is, what is the guide's opinion on this? Oh, you can use the bottom shield on the N64 Digital as long as you're not doing the no-cut mod, and we're not doing the no-cut mod, so bottom shield is a go. And then it says to take this block here and install it in place. Let's see, where does this block go? It goes like this. Yeah. Okay. Take the motherboard. Pop it down in place. Oh. And here comes the pain, for sure. Putting the analog flex in place is going to be a big pain in the butt, I can already tell. So let's pop this motherboard back out. The analog flex needs to be bent over here at this crease as marked here. So we got to bend that over. Like so. And we'll go ahead and lift the latch for the flex cables. Okay, so the flex cables are unlatched. Okay, it seems like everything lines up correctly. Let's try to install the analog flex cable first. Well, actually, that wasn't so bad. Thought it was going to be a lot worse. Oh, before I forget, we need the multi-out cover before we get too far into this installation. That looks pretty good. All right, and then the digital side of the flex cable just folds over. Man, they don't give you much clearance on this flex cable. Okay, there we go. That's in. Seems like there's more clearance on the example image. I'm gonna pull the cover back off. I wonder if this cable is pinched somewhere underneath here that's not where it's not supposed to be. No? It all looks about right to me. All right, well, let's try. Maybe it was just bunched up a little bit in there. Oh yeah, that looks a little bit better now. Yeah. I think it was just bunched up inside of there a little bit. All right, let's do a test real quick. Where's my EverDrive? There it is. Power supply. Let's see. Got a jumper pack here. Where's my N64 controller? There it is. Alrighty, so the first thing we'll try is HDMI. Okay, let's see what we get on HDMI. Nothing. We got nothing. Curious. Let's check something here. Oh, I'm getting no video on S-Video either. Maybe a dirty cartridge slot. This is really strange. Try an actual game. Yeah, I'm getting nothing at all. Okay, let's pull the cover off and double check. Pretty sure everything's good, but not getting anything at all. Soldering all looks clean. I don't see any bridges or anything. Looks good. I'm gonna unlatch the N64 Digital and see if we get anything with it disconnected from the N64 Digital. Yeah. I'm getting a signal over there with the N64 Digital disconnected. That's interesting. Okay. Well, let me try reflowing this a little bit again to make sure that there's no bridges or anything. I don't see any, but you never know. Back to no S video signal over here. Okay, let me go take a peek at this under the microscope. I don't know what's going on with it, but let's see. Yeah, no, it looks fine to me. I don't see any bridges or anything. Wonder if that has something to do with it. Okay, let's give it another shot here. Huh. I'm getting no S video. Let's see about composite. I wonder if it's a dirty cartridge port or dirty expansion port. This is super weird. Okay, let me disconnect the analog. Completely remove the N64 Digital from the equation. Try the customer's expansion pack. See if that does anything for us. Looks like that's a no. All right, here's what I'm going to do. As a troubleshooting step, I'm going to desolder the flex cable to pull it out of circuit. Let me check a few things here. No short there. Cleared that one. That's supposed to be soldered there. All right, we'll just go ahead and remove this flex temporarily. Okay. Now we just need to clean up the RCP so we can test it again with nothing connected. Okay, that looks clean. I think we're clear there. Okay, it works with no flex cable connected, so there's something going on with the flex cable. Guess we'll try soldering it again. I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if maybe we've got a defective flex. Maybe it's got an internal short somewhere or something like that. So, just to double check that the alignment is correct. No, it definitely was correct because pin 6, that's this one here. So, if you look, you can tell what the correct alignment is supposed to be because you can see where the ground points are. So, let's see. This is pin 6, 7, and then this goes to a ground point. And if you look here on the flex, this third pin over, which matches up with this ground point, goes to the ground plane underneath on the bottom side of the flex. So, and then you'll see that if we go down the line, the ground planes line up on all of these. So that was the correct orientation to solder the flex cable. I know I had it correct. It just doesn't, just wasn't working. So we're gonna go ahead and try resoldering it, and then we'll see what we get this time. But I don't know, I don't really know what the issue is, to be honest with you. Because it seems like it's fine. Okay. There's definitely a short right there. Okay, it looks clean this time. Let's test it again without connecting the N64 Digital. Nothing. We got nothing with the flex cable installed. So, I think I have a defective flex cable. I think I might have a defective flex cable in my hands here. Because I don't know anything else that could be causing this. Let's see. Oh. That time I soldered it in the wrong place. Dang it. How'd I manage that? Okay. Well, it makes sense why it didn't work that time. Okay, back to the start again here. Gotta remove it. Well, that was stupid. Okay, this time it is the proper alignment. Okay, let's give it another shot here now that it's installed correctly again. Okay, we've got video again. So, now let's go ahead and install the digital plug in our HDMI. Hey. Okay, so I don't know what was wrong. Just bad soldering, I guess. I know the alignment was correct the first time, for sure, but something else must have been wrong. Maybe there was a short in there that couldn't be seen. Sometimes you have shorts that are invisible. Okay, let's see. How do we get into the... There we go. Output resolution. Let's try... I wonder if this will freak out my capture card if we go to 1440. It looks like it got it. My monitor won't take it though. So we'll hop back over to 1080. Oh, cool. You can adjust the scaling. Sweet. All right, well, so that's the... All right, well, there you go. That's the N64 digital side. Let's try plugging in the old analog portion and see what the analog looks like through the I've got my RetroTink 5X here. We can test on. Oh, give me just a second. I gotta go get another HDMI cable because I gotta go get a SCART cable because I don't have a Nintendo SCART cable in the back here in the office right now because of reasons. Alrighty, here we go. We got our SCART cable. We got our RetroTink. Okay, RetroTink is in place. Let's give this a shot. Oh, there we go. There is analog output from the N64 Digital. We'll fire up some Mario Kart or some Yeah, Mario Kart 64. Oh, hey, Obi-Wan. This is hardware 2. This is a N64 Digital hardware 2 that we're installing here. Aw, man. Yeah, the analog output looks good on this. I haven't installed one of these N64 Digitals in a long time, and the most recent one I've done actually was not an N64 Digital. It was a Ultra HDMI hardware too. And I gotta say, I kind of like the way that the flex cable is designed better on the Ultra HDMI compared to this. I don't hate the PixelFX flex cable, but I do think the Ultra HDMI cable is a little bit nicer in terms of layout. Now, feature-wise, I think this thing is much more advanced than the Ultra HDMI, and I think it has more modes and stuff. I think the Ultra HDMI can't do 1440p. 1200, I think, is the highest you can go on it. That's pretty nice, though. I like it. Let's see. Oh, cool. And the IGR functions are the same as like on the Ultra HDMI and the like the N64 RGB V1 and stuff like that. So that's cool. Let's try Super Mario 64. Well, everything's looking pretty good. I'm just goofing around right now. This, forgive me on the gameplay. The controller I'm playing with, the analog stick, is completely shot. It's like ground to dust, so it's not very precise. And that is why it's my test controller, because I don't actually play with it, I just test stuff here in the office. All right, well, that looks good. I think I'm gonna say that the install is done now. So, okay, we'll go ahead and just reassemble, and then we should be good to go. We'll take a look at how that how this HDMI port looks once it's fully assembled. I think I did a pretty nice, pretty tight hole, as they say. But yeah, overall, I would say the this is a pretty nice kit. It's too bad that they don't make them anymore. I haven't yet installed a gem in an N64, so I'm curious to see how well that works out. I assume it's got nice digital video, but there's just no analog option on it, which is a shame. you would, I don't know, you'd think that, I understand that the gym is kind of supposed to be a universal product, so it doesn't have, most of the consoles you're going to be installing a gym on don't need a digital to analog converter, because most of those systems already have analog output, and the entire point of the mod is really to get digital output, not analog. But there are some systems where, you know, like the N64, where you still could use analog. I mean, it would be nice to be able to get a nice, clean, new analog RGB signal out of some systems, even if they already have analog signals. Oh, that was the wrong screw type. Even if they already have analog output, it would be nice to get a fresh, newly generated analog output for those systems. They could maybe they could make an add-on board, like an add-on board that provides an ADC to provide analog output as an option. I think that seems like that could potentially be viable. Although I don't know what parts of the gym, like as far as the I/O that's available on the retro gym, I don't know what all is available on that little. They use that super wide flat flex cable connector, and then all of their flexes so far have been, you know, really truncated. The connector is huge. It's got like, I don't know how many pins it's got in it, 60 pins or something. It's a monster. But you know, there's only the ones that are actually connected for the current kits that they offer. It's like less than half of the pins are actually being used. So I assume that there's some I/O available there for them to do extra add-ons and stuff. I'm just wondering if maybe they could do a analog add-on board. Yeah, Obi-Wan, what's the advantage of the what's the big advantage of the gym over the Hardware 2 DC Digital? I'm curious. Like, I don't know that like the Hardware 2 DC Digital is still available right now, right? You can still buy that, as far as I know. So what would be the advantage of the Dreamcast version of the Retro Gym compared to the DC Digital that's available right now? Because I'm not sure that I'm not really sure I know what the distinction is there. Obi-Wan, I could have sworn that the DC Digital kits are still available on the PixelFX website. Oh, hey, Chris C. This was your first mod? That's pretty impressive. I wouldn't generally recommend this for a first mod, but did it go well? I assume it went well. You didn't you didn't say it went poorly. If it went well for you, then that's fantastic. That's like if you were able to knock this out as your first soldering project, I mean, good on you. Now, truth be told, I don't think that these mods are very hard to do. But I do this all the time. So to me, I don't know that I have a... Here's the deal. I think that if you do a lot of research and watch a lot of videos about how to do drag soldering specifically, and you do it with... and you drag solder these flex cable style mods, I don't think they're very difficult to do. The problem is that most people don't learn how to drag solder before they do it, so... Oh, Chris. Well, hey, look. Chris, I failed my first attempt right here, just now. Just now, failed my first attempt. Everything looked good. We fired the console up, got nothing. So, had to go back, remove the flex cable, and resolder it. That happens sometimes. As long as you don't damage the flex and you give it another shot, I mean, you can desolder and resolder a flex as many times as you need to, as long as you don't damage it in the process. But if you want to see how I did, I don't know if you were here the whole time, Chris, but if you want to see how I did it as far as removing and reinstalling the flex, if you go back in the live stream, you'll be able to see. It's not that hard to do. You just got to be careful. You don't want to pull on anything. You don't want to pull on anything that's not moving. If it's not moving on its own, then it's not, you know, the solder's not melted enough for you to be able to remove it. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really had any trouble with the... I've installed Ultra HDMIs. Never had any trouble with the flex cable on those, but I don't know if it's something about the geometry of the pads, the castellations or anything on the PixelFX flex cable. Because I mean, like, I install tons of Wii HDMIs also, which have an even finer pitch flex cable, and I never have any trouble with bridging or anything like that in those either. But I don't know, something went wrong there, but I can't say for sure what it was. But there you go, there's the HDMI port. Oh yeah. Now that's a tight hole right there. That looks almost, does that not almost look factory? Does that not look just about factory? All right, let's now that we got it fully reassembled, let's fire it up one more time, do another quick test run just to make sure that everything's still good after being sealed back up. Switch back over to the game capture. Here we go. We're going to play the ultimate test game. Everyone's favorite. Waluigi's Taco Stand. Doesn't everybody loves Waluigi's Taco Stand, right? It's like the #1 N64 game. Well, look, Waluigi's Taco Stand is a ROM hack, so stability is not necessarily 100% there. Let's try this again. Oh, yours has problems with the EverDrive 64X7. Well, what kind of issues do you have? This is an old EverDrive that I've got here. This is like an EverDrive revision 3, I think. Let's try Waluigi's Taco Stand again. Weird. Okay, so you have to actually switch to a real retail cartridge and then back before it will detect your EverDrive again? That's super strange. I don't know what to make of that. And so is this a problem that occurs since you've had the N64 Digital installed? Like, but you didn't have this issue before then? Or was it, or do you know? You know, I wonder if you just have a dirty cartridge slot. Because if the cartridge slot is dirty, the EverDrive will not boot properly. And if it doesn't boot properly, you won't get any video output at all. Like, it won't detect any video signal at all. And so switching to this game. By the way, if you haven't ever played Waluigi's Taco Stand, this game's physics are not great. It's kind of a frustrating game to play. Anyway, a dirty cartridge slot could definitely do what you're describing. Although I don't know if it didn't happen before you installed the N64 Digital, then it could be completely unrelated. But it could literally just be a dirty cartridge slot, because installing another game would potentially, you know, wipe some gunk off of the cartridge slot temporarily, enough to allow the EverDrive to boot. I know that EverDrives are more sensitive to dirty cartridge slots than normal retail cartridges. I've had a lot of N64s come through here, and typically, if a retail cartridge works, typically if the EverDrive does not boot properly, a retail cartridge usually does still work properly. So I would assume how do I kill like that? That's how I kill. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? I think I have infinite health in this game. I don't think there is any health in this ROM hack. Dang it. Well, anyways, I guess that's pretty much it. The install is done, so hope y'all enjoyed watching that happen. If anybody was here for the PS2 iFlash stream, I just wanted to say that it wasn't working correctly during the stream. The iFlash mod was, the PS2 was detecting the hard drive, and it was able to see the games list in OPL, but you couldn't, when we tried to launch a game, the PS2 would just lock up. Well, it turns out the issue with that is that the iFlash draws too much power for the built-in 3.3 volt rail of the PS2 Slim. So I installed a separate 3.3 volt regulator to test later off stream, and with a separate regulator, it's fine. It boots games just fine. It doesn't crash. So I've designed the flex cable for the iFlash mod, and I am also designing a little power regulator board that's going to install on the PS2 motherboard to supply 3.3 volts for the iFlash mod. So if anybody saw that stream and was wondering what happened with it, it works. The problem's been solved, but I just didn't do any additional streams on it because there's really not much to say aside from, here a power supply, a dedicated power supply fixes it. But that PS2, the mod has been removed from it now, so because I had to get measurements for the flex cable. So once I get the flex cables in a few weeks, we'll do another stream installing the iFlash flex cable, and it'll be cool. It'll all be working. But anyways, well, thank you guys for coming by to check out the installation. If you have an N64 that you would like to have a mod installed in, I will do the PixelFX gym. I just haven't had one sent to me yet, but I've got no issues with doing it. Or if you get an N64 Digital, or if you got a Ultra HDMI, or if you have a one of Bordy's N64 Advanced V2s, I'll install any of them. So, anyways, it was nice talking to all you guys. We'll hopefully see you again next time. Later.